Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. My name's Chris and this is the 5th video in our series A Journey into Our Soul. Today is our last video in our foundation series. What we're trying to do is basically set up 4 cornerstones in which we're going to start to then build a foundation where we can kind of set certain concepts that we can then pick and choose and start knitting these different concepts together to then put a program that's going to become more usable and focus on different case studies, different types of areas in our life that kind of matter to us. So today we're going to talk about beliefs. So what is a belief? A belief is really an idea about something to be true or something is real and it exists. Now, I want to go through 2 examples. I want you to imagine that we're in a tribe 40,000 years ago and we're foraging for food on the African savannah. And we're going down this path and Uncle Rob is starting to pick some red berries from a bush and starts to eat them. And about 30 seconds later, unfortunately for Uncle Rob, he drops dead. We were a little bit shocked. We looked down and we're a bit fearful now of these berries, but our foraging has to continue, so we continue down the path. About 100 metres down the path, we come upon another bush that's got red berries on, slightly different, but we've just seen what happened to Uncle Rob, and we associate those berries, those red berries, with the other red berries as being poisonous and very bad for us. And we might then start to tell other people, stay away from red berries because all red berries are poisonous. Now the reason we do this is because it's in our interest to stay away from any red berry that may be poisonous because our survival is at stake. So we generalise by one example to all red berries. Now the other example was still at the African savannah and I get separated from the tribe and I'm miles from home and I start to get thirsty and I'm thinking about different things and all of a sudden I'm thinking about less and less and my thirst starts to drive a little bit of fear. And what's happening is my body is now starting to control my mind and saying, you need to focus on getting water, otherwise you might die of dehydration. And suddenly the argument that I had with my wife in the morning doesn't seem that important, or the guy that teased me doesn't really matter anymore. Because what's happening is I'm tunneling in on something that's becoming more and more and more important. And what's happening is that fear that's generated from my biological body has information in it that is telling my brain, my mind, a certain amount of instructions to say, forget about everything, focus on getting water, otherwise there could be a dire consequence. Now what about now? We have a couple of options, and each option has a certain consequence that will satisfy our thirst at certain levels, at certain qualities. I've got some memory that Aunt Bassie, she gave me to say, look, if I ever got separated from the tribe, there was some water to the east and it's about 20 kilometres and it's fresh and it's just gushing through the rivers. Now, I think about the 20k journey and my twin sister could do it because she's just so much better than me. But really me, I'm not that good at that kind of stuff and, I think that I'd probably die trying. The second kind of idea comes to mind of just get the first piece of water I come across, whether or not it's some water in an elephant footprint and, I could just slurp up that beautiful muddy water and quite possibly die because it might be poisonous. So I'm kind of doing the same thing as Uncle Rob, or I might pick up a really horrible parasite and die from that as well, or just get riddled with parasites and have a really painful life. So, but I don't know, because I don't have that knowledge. Then a voice from the past, actually Uncle Rob, says, look, if you get stuck out in the savannah on your own, there's a certain type of plant that is buried in the soil, and it's just got kind of this brown stem. And if you find the brown stem and you dig underneath it, you come against this kind of bulbous kind of root system. And if you peel off some of the roots, or you tear off the roots, you can squeeze a little bit of water from them, just enough to kind of get you home. But it's kind of a survival tactic. Now, I don't know if this is true, so I'm going to have to put some faith in Uncle Rob's knowledge that, I've got to look for a particular type of tree, go towards that tree, and I'll find that these blue stems kind of grow around this tree, and I can kind of see a tree off in the distance. The fourth option I have, which I've kind of heard through different stories, that Grandpa Bear Grylls, you can just get a piece of cloth, pee in it, and drink that urine. I'm probably going to leave that to plan B. But the whole idea is that I have now various options. I'm kind of navigating, if you like, the earth, using my knowledge to try and satisfy my need for nutrients, for water. And in that instance, I'm very much like the tree, right? It's an external reality that I'm responding to. Now, unlike the tree, humans have two realities. We have an external reality, and we have an internal one that is created by our imagination. And as a result of having an internal reality, it is designed to satisfy our emotional needs. Because humans, even though we have physical external needs that we need to satisfy, shelter, protection from predators, we need food, and we need companionship, we also need a sense of purpose, a sense of pride, a sense of connection, that we're appreciated and we can show our appreciation. And we also need a sense that we're in control, that we can actually secure ourselves as well, that our place in the world isn't always being attacked. Now, we have exactly the same challenges as we do in the external reference points of how we satisfy our emotional needs. Because 95% of all our beliefs have been unconsciously given to us by our upbringing, by the friends we hang out with, by the books that we read, the social media blogs that we read, the films that we watch, people that we admire and people who we don't admire. And those unconscious beliefs are actually driving behaviour in how we satisfy our emotional needs. Now, if I believe that you should be dominant in a relationship, I'm actually going to use anger as my emotional drive to manage that relationship, because dominance requires me to be powerful, and in some cases I'm going to use anger to make sure that the other person knows that they're in a dominant relationship. Now, there's a challenge with that, because not a lot of people like to be dominated, because it actually restricts their ability to grow. If they can't have an alternative view to the person who's dominant, then they're gonna feel stifled. And the person who's dominating, that person can't grow as well. And in some way, that actually meets another need of pride in a perverse way, because it gives that person like a power trip. But it's not really fulfilling. But that belief structure, right, is taking them to the dirty water analogy. They're drinking from a crappy, water hole. Now, we all get thirsty. We all get thirsty to try and satisfy our needs. If I want to find more purpose in my life, but you know, I've had an experience where I went out and tried something before and it didn't work, and you know, I lost a bit of money, and you know, that's never going to happen again, then I'm not going to try different things. It's that kind of, you know, one red berry equals all red berries are poisonous kind of analogy. And so it's how we project our beliefs, how we satisfy our thirst for life is going to generate the quality in our lives. Are we going to stretch ourselves to go over the horizon, walk the 20k? Are we going to trust in Uncle Rob's, you know, and just pursue an idea that is, you know, if it is true, is going to save us and it's going to give us another lens of life? But these emotional thresholds that we use, whether or not I'm going to use fear, whether or not I'm going to use anger, whether or not I'm going to use despair, whether or not I'm going to use curiosity and joy, and you know, this richness of being curious to try other things. That is the secret of living a rewarding and fulfilling life.